5 tips of raising black children in abroad. This is something to be so easy out there to take it in, but I'm telling you, when black people move to abroad, there comes with unexpected emotions for parents and children. Let's know the 5 tips actually which I've been given here to tell you today from the home of African music, how to raise black children in abroad. It's not easy for so many of you who are here in diaspora. You can relate wherever you may be listening to me from. Remember, if you have gone from Tanzania to Uganda, if you have moved from Nigeria to Ghana, you are still abroad. We always forget and we always say that abroad is always moving to Europe, moving to USA. But I'm telling you, the moment you change your country, the moment you move out of your country and you are in another country, it seems you are in abroad. Actually, not it seems, you are in abroad. The only thing that most people don't realize is that, and I'm telling you, if Kenyan in Africa, we have different tribes in a specific country. Let me talk of Kenya, which has around 43 tribes. So the moment you move from your tribe to the next one, still you are in another diaspora that you are not being able to know. But let's talk today about what QV actually told me here. 5 tips for raising black children in abroad. Yes, and today we're gonna be looking on raising these children. What do these children feel? How do we raise these children? QV has told me to talk about 5 things, and this is what I'm going actually to tell you. So many things happen out here. So most often, actually, let me talk of all parents actually out here. Always assume that moving their kids from one country to another, especially to a non-white majority countries, would be welcomed adventure. Let me give an example of moving African children from Africa to France, whereby most of them are black, but they come from France. You can witness this, you have always seen this, but I'm telling you, most parents assume that moving their kids to another country, especially in a non-white majority countries, would be a welcomed adventure. But black families, especially black people, might be surprised by actually so many things that change. Let me call it by the roller coaster of emotions that it brings. If you are moving from a place where you think you have ethnic roots, you may find the current reality to be different from what you actually imagined when you were in your origin, when you are in your own country. If you are moving to a place where you have never been before, you may find it very difficult that the black community to be either smaller or to be a large one that you expected. And this thing that you are not supposed to assume as parents who are moving kids from one country to another. So it may be more diverse and subject to distinct social pressures that you are going to be unfamiliar with when you move. First of all, the languages and the accent, they are going to take a very new turn. This is a new beginning for children, new beginning for parents out there. And within all this, black kids experience distinct challenges of fitting in. This is where now it starts from. Children moving. 5 tips of raising black children in abroad. This is what we're going to talk today in the African Guide for Kids show, courtesy of CR today, not QV today. And I'm telling you, I'm going to mention them 5, and I'm going to maybe explain a little bit of what I understand through them. If you have something else you can add on it, remember to join us on our social media platforms or reach us actually on our WhatsApp number +49 163 728 6573. Talk to me so that you're going to join the conversation, and we're going to talk about 5 tips for raising black children abroad.
Your words with your actions. I need more than satisfaction. Did you really feel that action? Really wanna give you all the flex in front of your friends? How that works?
So moving straight to them, I'm telling you 5 tips for raising black children in abroad. So today we're gonna talk about 1. Process what your passport means in your new home. That's number 1. Process what your passport means in your new home. Don't be shocked what I'm saying about or talking about your passport. If your child isn't complaining about being the only black kid in school, but instead about being the only kid from the country or from the country that he or she comes from, or being the only kid that speaks their native language in that class, you must have to consider, because While young kids might not register the impact actually on the older kids might get called out of their nationality. In some places, let me make an example of here in Germany, being able to fly back home during school breaks might turn might turn her into being a cool kid who wants to stay here, not going back home, but it could make them stick out like a score thumb. Let me speak about process what your passport means in your new home. For many kids, the concept of privilege and difference might be new and uncomfortable. If you've got a teen, let me just speak of a teen, work with them to understand how race, class, and opportunity differ in your new home where you have moved to. Let's see the logistic in this, because if you're moving to a country that requires visa renewals, like here in Germany, it requires visa renewals each and every time, or departing the country so often from here to another country to stay in compliance. Think about how this might affect your child's experience, school attendance, friendship, and their sense of identity. Don't underestimate the disruptions and plan ahead to minimize them. That's what I mean by process what your passport means in your new home. That's number one. That's something that you should consider as a parent while moving your kids to your black children to abroad.
I want enjoy, I want job life, I want buy motor, I want build house, I still want to know.
Yes, I'm telling you, before I speak to number two, yes, I'm reminded here to tell you there is one stop shop in town, and this is called Schonston Boutique. Remember, www.schonstenboutique.com. This is where you're gonna shop your attires from. There are African attires, there are shoes in there, there are a lot of things, there are women, there are wedding things, anything that you really need for your home is found at www.schonstenboutique.com. Remember, you can find them on their social media platforms, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok at SBF_Ashon Design. Remember, Schonston Boutique, you deserve to look better than yesterday. Check it out there and support these guys out there. Share it to your friends. Don't shop alone. Shop actually with your neighbors, shop with your friends, and let them know where to shop. And for those who are coming to diaspora for the first time, remember, this is where you can shop. For those who are bringing their kids to abroad for the first time, this is where we can shop. We are talking about 5 tips of raising black children in abroad, and we have talked number 1 we have seen is process what your passport means in your new home, and you know what I've talked about. Number 2, seek stress relief and mental health support. Here is my advice. This comes from me now. My advice to this kind of stress and relief, it's something that we may take it lightly, but my main advice in raising kids abroad is to be your kids' best friend. First of all, be that kid's best friend as a parent. One of them, listen to them and take them seriously when they open up to their own struggles with culture shock and fitting in, especially everywhere here in diaspora, language barriers and all that kind of stuff. So seek stress relief and mental health support. My advice, I have said, as a parent, if you're moving your children to abroad, yes, be a friend. Listen to that child. Take things seriously what that child comes home and speaks. So if fitting in, you as a parent being busy here and there, seek some professional help if your child is showing signs of anxiety and stress. Very simple. Some of you think that going to seek professional help is that your children are sick or something like that, or going to seek a therapist. You may think that your children are that. No, seek some professional help for your child, because things might change. So many things that these kids have to realize. So you need to realize that the mental stresses you face are not only unique to you as a parent moving to abroad, but to both of you. So anticipate how you could handle your kids' stress by pre-planning relief. This could be signing them into some sports, here they call it Verein, some sport leagues, or what actually your kids does best. If your kids can play a good piano, seek some schools around where you can register so that it could help it out. So meaning, maintain mental health, support with older providers until you identify new or local ones. There's so many people who came to your diaspora before, sick, and ask them where do the kids go. For kids coping with learning disabilities as well as behavioral and emotional challenges, don't expect moving abroad to make difficulties go away. They don't. Instead, use resources actually in both countries to manage stress and anxiety about everything from puberty to friendship and to homesickness. We have all homesicknesses. So stress relief, pre-plan it so that you know what your kids, and actually the main thing about the seeking stress relief and mental health is be a friend to that kid of yours. For those who are joining me, remember I'm talking about 5 tips of raising black children in abroad. 5 tips of raising black children in abroad. Remember, you're listening to African Guides for Kisho, courtesy of QV. But today, see her here, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna take over today's program. And QV has instructed me to talk to parents out there, to talk to children out there, or to talk to Africans, to those moving to abroad, raising black children in abroad. And we have seen, number 1, we have talked about process what your passport means in your home. The second one, seek stress relief and mental health. Let me talk about the third one. Time is going. Tip is coming up next with the Afro Connect show. Remember, building a community here. This thing is very difficult in abroad, building a black community or building a community so that you may fit in. Finding spaces where your children they, will feel actually, or will feel they belong to, is very important. You may be finding try to find try your best, actually, yeah, that's what I mean. Try your best as a parent to find a community of people who resemble your family and children abroad. Seek them out and send them to the world so that the children might interact with the other children who come from the black community, who come from the country that you come from. So such kind of things is what you should consider. Build that community. It's tricky. You might be building a community that will not help you out, or you might be building a community that will never actually take you anywhere. But I'm trying to say, you as a parent, try to investigate and build that community so that you have, you know, if you interact, you take your children to interact with other children of this different community but which belong to an African origin, what are they going? Surrounding your children with people who make them feel loved may take a bit extra effort, and if you are living completely in a new space, that's what I mean. Seek out faith communities, like I mentioned before in the second one, the athletics groups where children can play, in the neighborhood hangouts. Check out saloons that are here in your area where you are, that are associated with the African community. That's how you can get more experience, or that's how you can get more connections to build the community. If that community doesn't exist, don't die yourself as a parent, as an African parent. Reach out to co-workers. Maybe on online you can get so many things, but there's something that's very important, because most of the communities, as I said, they can take you in another way that maybe it's not you, or it's not actually what you expected, because not every black community or not every community that is in the African origin can fit what you want as a parent and your kids. For this, I can always say, 1, building a community is, if your children have come to abroad, make sure that these children, give them some prolonged calls back home. Very, very important. Try to make them talk to their grandmothers. Try to make them talk to their aunties back at home, so that they can have that experience, so that they can feel they are surrounded themselves. Make sure that whatever it's easy actually to dismiss kids, actually, complaints, and encourage them to try harder, which I said before, or to adjust to their new home. It's not fast, but as parents, kids can have delayed or prolonged adjustment. So when they tell you about the experience or the experience out here, try as much as possible to navigate where to find a suitable community for them to interact. If you don't find it in diaspora, there are phone calls, there are WhatsApp calls, there are video calls. Make them so often call their parents back, your parents back at home, that's their grandfathers and friends back at home, cousins, so that they may feel in this community of being an African if you are far away from diaspora. That's number 3, building a community. Number 4, keep your culture alive. Very important. Keep your culture alive. Most of us move to diaspora, move to abroad and forget our culture. We raise our children forgetting their own culture. Yes, what happened? Then you find it very difficult to raise black children here in abroad. So number 4 is keep your culture alive. You may be eager to adopt new habits actually here in Germany as we are speaking. Adopt so many things that they speak here. The language itself, it confuses you the more. But what we are trying to say here is keep your culture alive. This is a wonderful and highly encouraged, but holding to their certain practices or tradition from home can help kids actually stay connected to their ethnic roots, so they can still appreciate where they come from. Whether it is listening to music, whether it is at home, you decide now let's cook it. Let's cook what our grandmothers have always cooked. Choose a recipe that fits where you come from. If you come from Kenya, if you come from a certain tribe, choose a recipe that your children will actually try to normalize themselves, connecting with their own heritage. We need to keep our culture alive. That is something that you need to remember as a parent to teach your kids here, and do it constantly, speaking about our beautiful continent which is Africa and what makes it home. That's something that you should be doing it. If you move to a country with a black majority, this tip especially applies to it, because you may be seeing there's so many Africans around, and maybe you are here in France where maybe you're seeing so many Africans, but these are from France. These are not from your country where you come from. These are not from your culture. So something like this affects so many people a lot when they move abroad. So if possible, if you have kids, core relatives at home, as I put it on there. Number 2, number 3, keep that culture alive. Talking to your grannies, let them adapt some language, that the native language that you speak back at home. It will make them build a very keep their culture. Make them African attires. As I said before, go to www.schonstenboutique.com. Actually, for those who are watching me, you can just see the link on the video. Go to Schonsten Boutique, buy some African attires, let them wear, let them feel that they come out, they're keeping their culture.
99.22 FM.
Yes, I'm telling you. And if you're joining me on Facebook, thank you so much. For those who are joining me in Facebook Live, thank you so much. And keep on sending your comments here. Remember the topic today on the African Guide for Kids. We are talking about 5 tips for raising black children in abroad, and I'm telling you, QV gave me an assignment to talk about only those 5 tips of keeping of raising black children here. So many of you are relating, so many of you are living in abroad, you know what you're talking about. So many of you are here around here in Stuttgart, in Belgium, so many of you in France, where we see black a lot of black people there, but they are not from your origin actually. So relate, I'm telling you. With number 4, we have seen from number 1 out there processing what your passport means to you, and number 2, seek stress relief and mental health support. Build a community, which is number 3. Number 4, keep your culture alive. So after this, I'm gonna tell you on how to prepare your kids to answer, where are you really from?
99.22 FM.
Yes, I'm telling you, those who are joining me right now, remember African Guide for Kids is the program that is on air right now, courtesy of Queen Victoria. That is CR here on the mic. I'm telling you, I'm gonna take it today. She gave me only 5 things to talk about today. Yes, raising children here in diaspora. 5 tips of raising children in diaspora, and that's what we're talking about. Remember, it's some 8 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm talking about 4:52 this hour. Yes, remember, coming up next. Yes, Afro Connection, courtesy of DJ Kwaku Tipi.
I wanna hold you so tight, so tight.
Remember, in wherever you may be listening to us, www.cradior.com, that's where you're gonna stream us live, or radio.net. Remember to always keep it on your home of African music. This is the only station that speaks your language. Europe's #1 African station for Afronews, Afrobeats, and the world hits. Remember, updates happening all around the world. Yes, happenings and experiences of Africans and their friends living in Europe, USA, and all over the world to Asia. Our friends from Lesotho, thank you so much for always joining us. I'm telling you. Yes, African Guides for Kids Show today, courtesy of CR. Thank you, Queen Victoria, for giving me this chance. And I'm telling you, we're talking about 5 tips of raising black children here in abroad. And we have talked about 4. The last one, which I'm going to give you today after this short break.
Only underground radio station.
This is Radio R. This is all the hits.
You can kiss my memory. The biggest.
Hey, yo, Motif, turn me up on them headphones, bro.
See, I don't usually do this, but as far as I can see, I need to enforce some things by a royal decree.
See, I don't need to brag and I don't wanna boast, but I will cut you down for acting like a toast. Ati heo umeingia kwenye club na kademu kababi.
This is Radio R. This is Radio R, home of African music.
Kwamba nitajali jamani.
Si unajua kasi pesa au biashara, basi tembea. Nani tembea, kasi ganji au mradi, basi tembea. Nani tembea, na sitaki kukuona. Sitaki kukuona.
I see you boy, you ring. Kwenda. Sipendi mangoma za Kenya. Kwenda.
Depo on the beat.
Octopus number 9.
Baby,
Dili. Hello. Kumbe huku ni matanga.
itabidi wasanii waanze kujipanga.
Drama Queen Octopus ni kuhanga.
Nakuru,
Naivasha,
Kisumu,
Mombasa,
LD, Bondo tu Kitui,
hapo sasa.
Central na Western,
Pia washadata, no matter where you from, yo mikasa.
Kasa.
99.22 FM.
Rewind, when we rewind, feels so nice.
Yes, for those who are joining me, remember African Guide for Kids Show, courtesy of CR today. We are talking about 5 tips, yes, on raising African black children in diaspora. We have talked about from number 1 to number 4. The last one, which I'm going to give you before time ends up at this particular moment in time, is prepare your kids to answer, where are you really from? This is a question that is oftenly asked out here to any black person who is living in a non-black community. The question comes in, where are you really from? Sometimes the question comes in from different people. It comes in different scenarios, and I'm telling you, it's good for us as parents to advise our kids or to teach our kids on how to answer, or to prepare them on how to answer, where are you really coming from? This is the 5th tip I'm giving you on raising black children here in abroad. So no matter where you go, your kids will always be asked to explain where they are from. The truth is, as I have said before, it's very simple, and there's no good answer either way for that kind of question. They may struggle as kids to answer that question back, or they may struggle with guilt, actually confusion and annoyance when it comes up over and over again. This question, as I said, it has happened to me. It has happened to everybody out there who is listening to me. Where do you come from? So over the times, parents, we have to help kids craft an answer to feel authentic, honoring the parts of the heritage that they always come or they want to share on where to come from. So the 5th tip is, where are we really coming from? What do we have to tell these kids? First, let them know that they don't owe anyone an answer. They don't. Children, let me speak to them out there. For those who always watch the African Guide for Kids, let me tell you, you don't owe anyone an answer to when someone asks you, where are you coming from? So the tip I'm going to give you, no, don't feel offended. You don't owe anyone an answer. If the question was just asked in a nasty tone, it's okay. walk away. If you feel that has offended you, walk right away. So the second thing, if they are really feeling bullied or threatened by the question, their safety comes first. So children, if you really feel this question has really come, where are you coming from? It's a question that is very simple to be asked, but sometimes it comes in a nasty way. So if curious friends ask, they will want to respond with something that feels completely comfortable. Help them practice. Parents help them practice the children variations until they feel comfortable. Either tell them to say, I moved in here, or I move around a lot from point X to point B, from country A to country Z, so that these children, they may know on how to answer this question, where are you really coming from? If they want to be specific, try something like, I was born in country B, I was born in Nigeria, I was born in Ghana, but my parents come from London, my parents come from Zimbabwe, and my mother comes from Rwanda, something like that, so that they may try to answer that question freely. Teach your children on how to answer the question, where are you really coming from? The best thing you can do is to teach them, and that there is no wrong answer, and reassure your children out there that it is okay if their answer changes depending on the situation. And lastly, as I said before, you don't owe anyone an answer to this question, where are you really coming from? So let's prepare our children out there from wherever you may be listening to us from. As I said before, this is African Guide for Kids Show today, not courtesy of Queen Victoria, but CR here. And thank you so much for those who have sent a lot of topics here to be talked about. And I'm telling you, Kivu gave me this today. I hope I have delivered to you. And from me here, let's enjoy the African souls. Let's get some Amapiano. Let's get some Afro beats. Where are you coming from? And this is what we relate from. For those who are living in diaspora, let's get some African vibes. This has been the African Guides for Kids Show, a courtesy of CR. See you next time. Thank you so much.
Only underground radio station.
This is Radio R.
This is all the hits.
All of African music.
You